if you don't use it, you will lose it. I'm sure you heard the same before. This is your friend here, Roberto Monaco with InfluenceOlogy. What happens when we study 3, 4, 5 years of a foreign language? Maybe Spanish, maybe French, maybe Italian, and you don't use the language. What happens? We forget about it. You just cannot use it anymore, cannot speak the language anymore effectively. Well, because we are not practicing. Well, the same thing happens with the stories. Now, you and I both know that stories, storytelling, story selling is really important in our communication. If you're doing one-on-one presentation, video marketing, webinars, public speaking, marketing is extremely important to apply and incorporate stories into the communication process. But the majority of professionals that I talk to, they don't have a system to capture the stories. So when they have a presentation, when they're going to a sales appointment, they don't think before what kind of stories I'm gonna use here. They don't, because they don't have a system. Now in this video, I want to share with you my system that I use that worked for us here in InfluenceOlogy to capture those stories effectively. So when we do have a presentation, a seminar, a one-on-one presentation, a webinar, we go into a storytelling database and put the story right there. We read quickly and we're ready to go. Our system has 5 steps, so let's check it out. Step number 1, the first thing that you want to have is a story template. Because I do use PowerPoint and Keynote in some of my presentations, webinars, I already create this template inside the slide to save time. So this is like just a blank slide here. I'm using Keynote, as you can see, this slide here. And underneath the slide, you have all this space, blank space to put notes. Now, there's several ways to organize a story. There's several structures of story. What I found for me, the way I process information, that if I know these 10 things about story, I can tell a good story. If there's more elements I want to include, I can add it. But at least I don't forget about it. When I find a good story, when I heard a good story, I just go right away and just follow these 10 things, and I have a good story in my database. By the way, in this video, I am not trying to tell you, to teach you how and why you should tell stories. I recorded videos in the past. This video, I'm just explaining to you a system to capture stories. So my system goes like this. Let's say something happens in my life and this is a good story. I get that story and I go over the 10 points and I answer these 10 points. For example, the name of the story. What's the major point or lesson that the story is trying to convey? The characters, who was specifically in that story. The enemy, if you notice a good story, always have an enemy. Sometimes could be fear, sometimes could be a person, sometimes could be the competitor or the government. The setting where the story took place, before the event. You see, a good story has always this twist, this event, before and after, what happened. Something happened, a good story. So I describe quickly how the situation before the event, then obviously the event that took place. The event could be a revelation, a conversation, a decision, a breakthrough. Something happens. Some good stories, you have a aha moment or a punchline. Then we talk about after the event. So if the person was situation A, the event, what happens after. And the last piece is the source. Where did I get the information? So if the story is not mine, obviously I want to give credit to that person or the newspaper or whatever. So that's how I started. So let's go to step number 2 here. Step number 2 is very simple. You have to turn on your storytelling radar, meaning that the stories happen all around us, and the most effective influencers, communicators, presenters, they are paying attention to it. When they heard a good story, they go, they ask this question, how can I use that? How can I incorporate that into my communication process? So step 2, very simple. Make sure you become very aware of the stories that happen in your life, in someone else's life, on TV, on movies, on books. Capture those stories. Step number 3, you capture your story. Now let's say you have a template on your computer and then you go out to a party, you have a great conversation, someone tells this great story, you go like, how can I use that? Come home, open up your template, and now you're gonna capture that story. Let me give an example here. I'm not gonna tell the whole story, but here's a blank slide and you have my 10 points here. So that's a conversation that I had with my mom. It's a very famous story in our community here, the Tito, Uncle Tito story. As a matter of fact, you can check on YouTube or record a video about it. But we have a name, Uncle Tito, the point, the lesson of story, make a difference, characters, Roberto, mom, Uncle Tito, enemy, lack of focus, not make a priority, setting. I was drinking coffee with my mom, talking to her, and the cemetery. Before the event was a situation where my uncle was involved. The event, he died, he passed away. The aha moment, you gotta watch this story now. After the event, what happens with me and my mom, and then the source I create is our story. So that's how I do it. That's step number 3. Step number 4, very simple. I just add a picture in my slide. So in the future, if I'm doing a webinar or if I'm doing a presentation, I don't have to spend time finding a new picture. I already have a picture of mine, me telling a story. So here you go. So I have the slide, I have my notes here with my 10 points about my story and the slide. Let's go to step number 5. And the final step, step number 5, is about creating your story database. Obviously, you want to have access to the story easily, fast, anywhere, anytime. I personally use a system called Evernote. I'm not promoting, not endorsing, I'm not affiliate, and I'm sure you can get creative and use free tools out there. I don't have time to be creative to organize my things, so I pay 49 or 47 bucks a year, and Evernote allows me to keep all my documents, all my notes, share notes, and I have access anywhere, anytime. It's a really cool system. I enjoy. So here's what I do. First thing that I do, I copy and paste my 10 points here. Then there's a slide, right? So I have my notes, my picture here, Uncle Tito, and then I go to Evernote, and then they have something called notebooks. There's basically how we organize the files. So we say stories here, create one, and I'm saying I want to add a new story here, new note in stories. So you can see here there's a blank note. I just paste here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach my slide and my picture. Uncle Tito, boom. So it's right here, right? Uncle Tito, the notes, and the title, Uncle Tito Story. Uncle Tito Story. And now what's great about Evernote, they allow you to create tags, and tags are keywords. So in the future, if I want to find a story fast, I type it up, leadership story, Uncle Tito story, or motivation story, and then it's going to allow me, the system going to give me the stories that match the keyword. So for Uncle Tito story, for example, I'm going to say motivational story. I'm going to say Uncle Tito inspirational change, no regrets story, or change story. For example, I'm just using keywords that in the future, if I want to change story, type it up. Uncle Tito is an example. So every story has some specific keywords. Here you go, Uncle Tito story. So now I'm done. So in the future, I can close here. In the future, if I say I'm doing a presentation, let's say a month from now, I can search here. I can go search my notes, Uncle Tito. It's going to be right there. Boom, Uncle Tito story. Double click it. The story there, the slide. I can do a quick look here. Look at the slides, and it's ready to go. I can download it. The beauty is that if I don't have my computer with me, I have access to my slides and the stories. Excellent tool. I hope you enjoyed this little tool. Make sure you visit our website, www.influenceology.com/free. We have added several new resources to help you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.